Show. Yeah, I believe in you. I don't believe in lucky sevens. I'm not sure about Loch Ness, but I know I believe in angels. I believe in happiness. Good evening, everybody. It's so wonderful to see you yet again. So, Easter is coming, and we're very excited. My kids, I got to tell you, I grew up Catholic, right? So, Lent was always that 40 days of what am I going to give up? And I believe one year I actually tried to convince my mother I was going to give up something like socks because I didn't want the dreaded, you've got to give up candy for 40 days. But what I've done, and I'm so proud of my kids, I didn't do the full 40 days. We did just 1 week because, a couple years have gone by. They're not conditioned for it. They're not used to it. So I'm like, let's do it 1 week. I've had the hardest time with it of all. Oh my goodness. I did not realize what a chocolate addiction I have, but I do. If you love me, please send dark chocolate to the studio. It will be accepted 7 days a week. Trust me. All right. So it is a short broadcast weekend. And I have an amazing gentleman connected with me. He is out in Los Angeles. He is a seriously acclaimed author. He's a poet. He's absolutely amazing. We're going to get to him in just a moment. First up, I'd love to talk about the sponsor of this evening, which is going to be Nun Life. I'm finding their pictures for you. Here it is. So it is complete hydration for your system, whether you are a trained athlete or somebody who just loves the gym like I do, and I can't wait to get back into that gym. Let me tell you, I miss it daily. So you can find more about the products on nunlife.com. That's NUNLIFE.com. And as you see scrolling across the bottom of the screen, it's 80 milligrams of caffeine in only one 10-calorie tablet. These things are absolutely amazing. They're, pop them in your purse, put them in your pocket, in your gym bag. They go along with you. And we were actually talking in the green room for a second about what the sponsor of the evening was. And I mentioned it's Nun Life, and they have this new product out. I call it Hydration for Dummies because it's all one kit. It's full hydration, and it's just absolutely wonderful. And of course, they tout on the back, are you just fatigued? Well, maybe you need a little Nun Life in your life because it is full of vitamins. So 20 milligrams of ginseng, a blend of B vitamins. You get B12, B6. I will tell you what, my 20-year-old daughter was feeling sluggish. She had her blood work done. They said, you're deficient in B and D vitamins. She just went and got the over-the-counter, whatever D vitamin and B vitamin it was, and she feels fantastic. It is huge if you're not taking your vitamins every day, how much they can add to your life and give you some energy so you don't feel like crawling onto a couch or just curling up on the ground at 2 p.m. every afternoon. Take that nap. So caffeine is sourced from green tea. It's vegan, gluten-free, a great source of electrolytes. And they also have a loyalty program, which they started just this year. So right after the New Year's, you can sign up to be an active hydration essential loyalty program member, and you get all kinds of great swag and great discounts and great stuff from them. So if you go onto the website, you can get 20% off. However, here's the exciting news. You don't just have to go to their website, although I suggest it because you'll be able to read so much more information about it at nunlife.com. That's NUNLIFE.com. But they're now available on Amazon, Walmart, Publix, Kroger, Walgreens. They're everywhere. So exciting. So make sure that you try some Nun Life. Good evening. Hello, Mr. Ken Judge. He is an amazing actor. He is an amazing, you should see him in his full Kiss gear. His Gene Simmons impersonation is like top notch. I can't even tell you. You've got to go look up Ken Dodge. And he's live on Facebook this evening. So you just type in Ken Dodge and you're going to be able to find him. It is great to see you, darling. I hope that you're doing well. We have been castmates in a couple of different I want to say programs, but really it's a couple of different, there was a film, there was a music video, this, that, and the other. And Nashville's just hopping with jobs right now. So, all right, let's move forward with our gentleman of the hour. His name is Waide Riddle. Waide Riddle has written a number of novels and poems over the years, having earned over 60 writing and film awards in his past few decades of writing. His new book, titled Dear Tom Hardy, I Love You, based on his multi-award-winning screenplay of the same title, Dear Tom Hardy, I Love You. The book follows a story of a young gay boy who writes letters to celebrities who finally hears from his idol, film actor Tom Hardy. Riddle is currently working on producing the film A Grieving Man from a script he wrote. A Grieving Man tells a story of a troubled man who must confront the stages of grief alone after his wife dies suddenly of a massive brain aneurysm. As a writer, poet, and gay man, Riddle has his own take on the pressures of writing for a mass audience and on how Hollywood works. As he moves forward with producing A Grieving Man, which is now in pre-production with casting underway. And without any further ado, Mr. Waide Riddle, how are you this evening?
Thank you. That was a wonderful introduction, and you got it all right. So thank you. And I must say, thank you for having me on. And I love your hoop earrings, Elizabeth. Those are nice and fast.
Thank you. You are the first guest that has complimented my jewelry. Thank you very much.
Mother wore many hoops and teardrop earrings, and you know what that is. So
Yes, absolutely. So, Waide, you have such a rich, diverse background between all the different books, all the different publications, from poetry to novelettes to novels. I mean, it's amazing the diversity that you've covered, from, may it be for the young readers to the adult readers. Tell me, can you take me back to the beginning? Did you write as a child?
Yes, I've been writing ever since elementary school. I love to learn new words and pronunciations and construction of sentences, and believe it or not, I failed English in the beginning. I was horrible, but I was very intrigued with it. So the more I failed it, the more I wanted to do it. And listening to all my teachers, all they said is, Waide, you should focus and center yourself in your writing, because that's where your power is.
Wow. Yeah. All right.
I always look to them, no. No, I didn't.
So as a young writer, once they said that to you, did you know what that meant? Or did it take a little bit of a process to be able to say, okay, I'm going to maybe do a little breath work. I'm going to figure out what meditation is. Or was it intuitive?
Fantastic question. Actually, no, I did not really understand it at that time. I was so young. I mean, the teachers were having my mother come in for personal conferences and say, please, usher Waide into writing. But I don't think I was mature enough, actually, at that time to understand what they were saying. But I was doing it organically in myself. Years later, decades later, living in Hollywood, I would take a conference with Kevin Costner, the actor Kevin Costner, and he told the class, he said, raise your hand if you're an actor, and 99% of everyone except for me raise their hand as an actor. Then they said, raise your hand if you're a writer, and I was the only one that raised my hand, and he said, get to know him, because the writers wield the power. And I thought that was so nice, thank you, because we write the script. We want to make you look good. We want to make you work, get that Oscar.
You know what I find so amazingly powerful, to the point that you just said, of, the writer is writing that character for such a specific person in a specific character that I really embraced in my beginning of blossoming as an actress and going to auditions that it's not an insult if you don't get it. It's just not for you.
Correct.
And it's like, oh gosh, we focus on that table of producers and casting directors, and we're so focused on them when it's really the writer that held all the power behind that.
When I write a poem or a story or a screenplay, I have to put together my notes to make every single character, no matter how large or small, to stick out. What makes them unique, what makes to profile them, to showcase, because I want to make the actor look great too.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And, it's so nice. I've heard so many different coaches say it all depends on how good your script is.
Mm.
If the script is bad, then you have to bring your A++ game. You have to make it good. But then it gets really fun when you're handed a good script. It's almost like it's completely all laid out for you. You just have to become. And so what was the first publication that you wrote?
For the first publication, for my publication, God, this is going back to my what I remember is, believe it or not, I wrote a poem in 1996 called Two Men Kissing. And that's what it was about. It was about the examination, the profile of two men kissing, engaged in that. And it won 2 national awards. And then from there, it's been published multiple times in different literary journals. It luck or what have you, that's kind of what's kickstarted the rest of the poetry that I write now. I've always written though, but that's what really stuck out.
So, times have changed so much, even from the 90s to now, which in my world, the 90s was like yesterday. It wasn't that long ago. But, we had Ellen DeGeneres, she was coming out in her show and it wasn't received well. We had Will and Grace, where I think the writing was phenomenal. The comedy was phenomenal. So it hung on a little bit longer. But it was really kind of a moment to where I would imagine there was still a lot of nerves. There was a lot of anxiety of having a straightforward piece like Two Men Kissing. Did you have any of those feelings?
At the time, I just didn't care. The idea came to me. I thought, you know what? It's like a roll of the dice, and you see what comes back at you. And honestly, I had very, very little backlash on it. In fact, it was well received with the Poets House, New York City. They have it archived there. The Simon Wiesenthal Center here in Los Angeles is archived there. Very little negativity. There's just very little complaint. So maybe, like you said, right time, right place.
Yes, that's exactly what I was about to say. Right time, right place.
And a lot of that's a very good thing to remember, because even in Hollywood, it's about the timing and the place.
Mm-hmm.
It will happen if it's supposed to, and again, that goes into being organic about it. Maybe when you write a poem, nothing happens to it, but then roll it out again a few more years, and something may happen. I had that recently. A film that I had produced called Something Wicked Dwells. It's a poem about the horrors of living in a haunted house. And in the beginning, I had a lot of trouble with it legally and through actors, because I wrote it for it to be performed in the nude. Yes, naked. And these are only actors, male. Okay, I had a tough time. 10 years, okay, understand this was 10 years ago. Last year, I rolled it out again, got it cleared by Screen Actors Guild, SAG, not a problem, no problem, and I've won 4 Golden Cups in India and 12 official selections worldwide since. 10 years later.
Wow. And what is the name of that one again?
Something Wicked Dwells.
Something Wicked Dwells.
You can find it somewhere on YouTube. I know that the Tampa Bay Film Society was one of the first to reach out and officially select it, and I know that they have it in their collection. India really loved it. They really responded. I submitted to a lot of their festivals out there because they also have silent film festival and they have experimental film. Well, those are two new divisions that popped up in the past decade, and I said, oh, I fit in that. So I took the roll of the dice, did it, and it worked.
Well, congratulations on that. Yeah.
Well, you know what? I'm thrilled for the actors. The actors finally got their just due. You know, you had 4 actors that gave their all. Can I mention them?
Of course you can.
Troy Meatleader, C.J. Brady, Fabian Alomar, and of course horror icon Bill Oberst Jr. Maybe you've heard of him. Maybe you've heard of them. They gave their all. It was shot in black and white, and they did the whole, you know, the entirety in the nude, and they did fantastic.
Wow. Oh my gosh. That has to be a feast for the eyes to do that in black and white, which I love black and white cinematography. It's amazing. You know, the India market is quite interesting. It seems like it's
way. Yeah.
Yeah. They're hungry for something a little bit different than what they've seen for so many decades in India, that they're blossoming to enter into a little bit more of, not to say this in the wrong way, but a little bit more of an erotic feel, you know, a little bit more of a sensual.
Erotic, sensual, a little bit abstract, unusual, from American audiences. They allow a little bit more explicitness in the work too. I noticed that okay, I can get into that. That's great.
Yeah.
And I was able to go back and thank SAG and those around the round table to say, yeah, we'll give you a shot, and it worked.
Oh, wow. So we have a question here from Ken Dodge. He said, why did you choose to make the cast of Something Wicked Dwells nude?
And a good question. I hate to say this again, organically, that is the way I envisioned it in the mind's eye. We're in the dungeons of a haunted house. The beast is surrounding these 4 young men that are trapped, and they have to experience their demise one by one. And I chose the nudity in a way of being, and the innocence of it, maybe not the innocence, vulnerability. That's a good word. Their vulnerableness. Yeah, it's the way I'd always envisioned it.
Has anyone ever commented on any of your writing or any of your poetry, your works, as being something more of a cosmic, a intellect of something out in the universe? You're not of this world.
No, but I've been told that it's been crap. But
Oh,
yes. I've had some tell me that it was trash, borderline porn. This is my earlier stuff. Dear Tom Hardy, which is about a young gay adolescent. Of course, I wrote that. The Seeds I wrote back in 2016, and of course today, right now, it's such a major story and in our news.
right.
And to me, that's okay. Right time, right place. You know, there is such a thing as gay kids. You know, we exist. I was born and raised in Texas. I've got stories for you, and I love Texas. Don't get me wrong, wonderful. I love Houston, my hometown. It's a beautiful state, and there are those that are fighting tooth and nail for justice. You know, social justice. And those, of course, that are fighting against you. You know.
And we're talking about that a little bit in the green room, and I do want to explore that topic, but I also want to address Ken's question. So he is going back to Something Wicked Dwells. What was the inspiration for that piece?
A wonderful question, Ken. I have always been a fan, always, of great haunted house stories, from radio to film. And my mother raised me on the old CBS Radio Mystery Theater. And as a kid, I would hide under my bed and I'd get the radio and I'd listen to CBS Radio Mystery. And there was Sebastian Cabot, which was a wonderful narrator, and E.G. Marshall. I love those narrators, Vincent Price.
Yeah.
And I love great haunted house movies, The Haunting, the original, Ghost Story, those films. And I thought, I want to write a poem which focused on a haunted house and just make it as frightening and emotionally creepy as possible. And that's what I did with Something Wicked Dwells.
You know, talking about the time frame of so many of your projects being very, very bold in their time, at what point in your life did you cross over that, you know what, I'm just not going to worry about what could happen to my career. I'm not going to worry about what other people think or say. This is me, take it or leave it.
I never did. It was like, they're going to either like me or they're not. Whether I write about 2 men kissing or 4 men naked in a cellar, because there is a audience for everything. No matter how left or right you go, there's always an audience, and there's always going to be an audience that likes you or hates you.
Yeah,
Can't beat that. You can't compete against that. You know.
You can't. I kind of love it, because if they like me, if they love me, or if they hate me, they're all talking about me. And that works in this day and age. It works towards your numbers, because everybody's going to be like, Elizabeth Cooper, who? And they'll Google it. It's like, thank you.
Well, Nina Simone, if we know who she is, once said in her quote, an important quote, "It is the artist's duty to get involved." Mm-hmm. And it didn't matter how, just do it. You know, and I really love that quote. And that's a huge door. It depends on what you're comfortable with, that the artist is comfortable with.
Absolutely. I'm typing that in. I love Nina Simone.
Oh, amazing.
My parents retired to Tryon, North Carolina, which is where she's from. And yeah, it's just absolutely amazing. All right. Now, let's talk a little bit more about what we were talking about in the green room. And I know that you have your new book titled Dear Tom Hardy, I Love You. And as I was mentioning, yes, you have it right there. As I was mentioning in the intro, so the book follows the story of a young gay boy who writes letters to celebrities who finally hears from his idol, film actor Tom Hardy. And you had just mentioned a moment ago about being a child, and you knew that you did not have an interest in girls. You knew who you were at a very young age. And I had mentioned that I grew up with a girlfriend of mine, and I was always half and half. I was half a tomboy that loved getting dirty and climbing trees and playing street ball. And the other half of me, I'd play little tea parties and get dressed up in dresses. So I was totally confusion as a child.
Yeah.
And my girlfriend, she always knew. She refused to wear a dress. She always knew. And now today she has a beautiful wife and they have a beautiful child together. And there are children out there that just know.
I knew from day one. I knew when I popped out, you know. My mom knew too. She had a hard time owning her child was different, but it was there, you know. There's a wonderful movie called Boy Erased, which examines that. It was with Russell Crowe and Nicole Kidman. And there's a scene in there with a little boy. He's involved in a church group, and they're speaking in tongues, and they're reciting scripture, and he finally it dawns on him. He figures it out, and he says, "You people are crazy," and he walks out. And they're like, "Yes, it's not him that's a problem, or me, or your friend. It's everybody else." And that's important to understand, not you.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So we have a question here from Michael Harrison. And he's saying, Grieving Man, was it from your personal pain and loss?
Wonderful question. This is in the middle. Well, this is right when quarantine started and everything shut down, and everybody was very depressed. Nobody was going out. I just discovered long hikes and long walks. And while I was walking along the Bologna Trail in Culver City, which we spoke of earlier, I got this idea. Okay, I've been writing about a lot of happy stuff with Dear Tom Hardy. I'm going to get a lot darker. And I thought, let's get, I want to rip people's heartstrings on this. I want to get really personal. And I known a couple of people who had lost, young men who lost their wives to brain aneurysms. And it's horrible. Anything like it's horrible. Did a little research on brain aneurysms and in the grieving process, the stages of my own loss of my own mother and my grandparents and my dad, they're all gone. And I said, it's time to wallow in the grief. Let's write it. So that's what I did. So I get, yeah, it's personal and also others that have shared their pain with me.
So I'd love to backtrack for just a moment, just to get inside of you.
Yay.
And let's go back to you at about 10, 11 years old.
Okay.
Where were you growing up? What did that look like?
Houston, Texas. That's my hometown. I love Houston to this day. I was raised in a very conservative environment. Spring Branch, Spring Shadows, that was the subdivision. Very, very middle class. There were good times, there were bad times. My best times were during the holidays when I had my whole family with me, running through the fields of wildflowers during summers and springs, the buttercups, the blue bonnets, the Indian paintbrushes. During the winter, we had so many oak trees, and you could run through the shower of leaves during windy days, and we had weeks of clouds and overcast, which I love, weeks of rain. I have wonderful memories, and of course, those memories stuck with me, and that's what I also look back for today and write about. Now, as far as personally, it was tough because I wasn't like other little boys, and by the time I was in high school, the aggression and the harassment got so bad that it was turning violent and physical, and unfortunately, my mother one day I came home bloody, and my mother was there, and she said, "That's it, I'm pulling you out." And she had to take me out of school and entered me into a private school for at-risk children at the time. Now, the ironic thing there is that was when I was a sophomore. Okay, well, in the new school, I was able to study and focus, and was finished with an SAT, got my GED, and in other words, I graduated before I was supposed to in '82. So I have to say also that's probably one of the most best decisions my mother could have made for me at the time. She was just right time, again, right place. Yeah.
She sounds like she was a very loving, progressive, open-minded
Well, my
person.
mother was a music professor and art professor.
Oh.
Last year, she was inducted into the Houston Symphony Museum and Archives, which I'm so proud of. So she was always around the more progressive element. Our home was always filled with music, from Beethoven to Aretha Franklin to the Carpenters. So there was always music. And I thought that was normal. I thought everybody grew up that way. Well, they don't. I learned. So, yeah, I was very fortunate.
Wow. Ken Dodge, he's still with us. He's saying,
Hey,
I've
Ken.
always lived by the quote, if your life is filled with storms, learn to dance in the rain.
Absolutely. Yes. And I love rain. I love rainy days. And of course, in Los Angeles, you don't really get that. So I really love it when we do have a rainy season. We had a good one this year, I thought. It skipped us last year, but we got it this year. And of course, I love to walk and hike in the rain too. It doesn't bother me.
All right. So we're in Texas.
Okay.
At what point in time did you go from Texas to Los Angeles, or was there another stop in between there?
Well, In 1980, I'm going to go back. In 1981, my mother encouraged me to go into cosmetology because I was always into grooming and looks, and I was always objectifying men and women on their looks, and it was very natural to me. So she said, you should go be a beautician while you're chasing these other avenues. That's important, have a backup plan. So that's what I did. I got my licensing in cosmetology. I'm celebrating 40 years in the industry. Yeah. And in 1984, I was still in Houston. I just decided it's time. There's a world beyond Houston. So I moved to LA September 24th, 1984 at 4 p.m. I remembered it. Yeah. Now, I also remember the plane going through a very dark brown cloud of pollution. And when I went up Gower Street to check out the Hollywood sign, I thought, boy, it's dirty. Well, because I honestly thought Hollywood was, the diamonds and gold on the streets. And it's like, whatever.
Yeah, no, I came in the first time at night.
Oh, okay.
And it's very glittery at night. It's probably one of the most lit up cities I have ever flown into. I can't believe when you look from the sky, there is literally a street post, a street lamp. It seems like every couple of feet, it just lines, the whole city glows.
One would think that.
Yeah. Yes. All right. So now you're in LA.
Okay.
Are you working on film sets as an MUA, or what is your first gig in LA?
The first gig in LA, getting jobs in salons because I had my licensing, which I did. I actually, what did I'm trying to remember. The first thing that hits my mind is I got a position at the Jose Iber Salon. Do you remember him in the 80s?
No.
Stylist that had the cowboy hat, and he did the Farrah Fawcett look.
Yeah.
His clients included Elizabeth Taylor, Michael Jackson, all the bigwigs at the time. And I walked into the salon. I was terrified. Because he was my hero too, and I walked in T-shirt and jeans, and from my pickup truck that I'd brought from Texas, at the time, and and he was the first one to greet me in the salon. I walked in. He said he had a cigarette, and I said, "May I help you?" I said, "Yeah, I want to work for you." And he says, "Are you licensed?" I said, "Yes, I come from Texas, and I really love your work, and I respect you, and I want to work for you." And he looked at me up and down. I could see he was reading me, right? And he said, "Can you start tomorrow?" And I said, "Yes." He said, "Have the ladies at the front desk fill you in." So that was it. And that was 1980, 5 or 6 in there. Yeah. It was luck. Again, right place, right time. In fact, the ladies in the salon told me he obviously sees something in you and likes you, or he would not have done that. I would have gone through a different process. So.
Wow.
And I only have wonderful experience with Jose and his salon. It was an extraordinary experience.
And how long were you with him?
I was there for on and off 3 or 4 years with Jose. Yeah, about 3 or 4 years, because I went from the Beverly Hills Salon to the Beverly Center Salon, which is no longer there, of course. Okay. Yeah. It was an extraordinary amount of education, and just learned a great deal about the industry too, and of course met his clientele, and that got me started in so many different avenues. Yeah.
It is so inspiring to hear. I love to envision possibilities all around us. They're in the air, and it's up to us to decide which possibility are we going to grab at what time, and it's yours. You just have to create it. And that is a full-blown story of just grabbing that possibility and creating it.
That's all it was, because I could write a full book on that part of my life, and I was terrified. I was, but it's within minutes I had the job. I said, "Wow, I did it." Um, and there are many other stories like that I have in LA about what I've done. But there are many many times I've done it the wrong way too, and got myself thrown out. So yeah, wrong time, wrong place.
Exactly. All
Like
right. So
both ways.
let's talk a little bit more about Dear Tom Hardy, I Love You. Um, Now, we have touched on your background. We've touched on your childhood. Bring us to the fruition of when did you begin writing the book? Was it a difficult editing piece to have to, edit down? Um,
Question. No, I actually the seeds were planted. When I say that, my mind was drifting into that area about the time the campaign between Trump and Hillary started, and that's when I saw the entire country go into divisions, major divisions, and I thought, wow, and people were not happy, or they were extraordinarily happy, depending on what side. But I just saw a wedge created in so many different places in America. And I said, this is not good. This is not good. And I thought, instead of focusing on haunted house mysteries, I'm going to focus on something happy. And I thought, let's write a story about a little boy who's gay, who writes his favorite movie stars. That's what I did when I was young. I did that. And what would happen if he actually met his icon or the his movie star crush, and that to me would make something fun. So that's what I did the screenplay, and then of course last year I decided 2 years ago I decided to write the novelette, which I might add was one of the most difficult self projects I've ever done, because it's going from screenplay to novel, not the other way around, and it's like, wow, it was very challenging, and it literally changed the script, but I'm very pleased and very happy with the novelette.
well, congratulations on the completion of this project. I mean, how many projects do you have under your belt at this point?
Well, I have 6 paperback books that I've been able to complete in the past few years. I have 46 on Amazon, and understand the 46, that represents the poetry I've done, and one on many short stories and novelettes. Yes, so there's plenty there for you.
Yes, I'm going to your Amazon author page, and
Should I take you through a few of them?
of course you can. Yes.
Now that I have the menu in front of my face, that's good. Thank you.
Yeah.
Like The Power of Summer, I wrote. It's all poetry. It's 9 poems, and I wrote during the quarantine and shutdown time, and it's all about everything that makes LA wonderful. The summer, everything that makes LA vibrant, charismatic. The place that everybody wants to move to. In other words, it's happy. It's so happy. It's saccharine. It's bubblegum. It's cotton candy. It's the Beach Boys, and I'm serious. That's what it's about. It's supposed to put a smile on your face. Okay. Now, how this happened? You can get this on the Barnes and Noble website. Now, how that happened, how it got there, I don't know, but I'm very appreciative of it. So if you type up, of course, barnesandnoble.com and ask for it, it's there. Wow. All my books, including Dear Tom Hardy, you can find also at the Culver City bookstore, The Village Well. I definitely want to give a shout out to them, because they've taken a chance on me, and they sell all 6 books that I've done. They're also a coffee shop, so go to the coffee shop, get the book, and read. It's a wonderful bookstore right in the middle of downtown Culver City, Village Well. There's also oh, where did my menu of it disappeared? There's there. Thank you.
Are you?
Yeah, that's perfect. Thank you. There's the Night Elvis Kissed James Dean, which I wrote back in the 90s, and it's taken this long to push it forward to there you go, to paperback book. Very proud of that story. It's about 2 teenage boys that meet at Hollywood High School, one that looks like Elvis, the other one looks like James Dean, and they fall in love. And it takes place in the late 50s when it was actually dangerous.
Very dangerous. Yes, that was very taboo at that time.
Yes, and it's a warm love story. I will say, I need to give a shout out. The Power of Summer, the audiobook is narrated by the amazing Bobby Gaglini. Okay, and he's done a tremendous job on each of the poems. Just created a wonderful, happy, uplifting tone. So Bobby Gaglini, thank you so much for your help on that book. Now the next one we just talked about, the Night Elvis Kissed James Dean, is narrated in the audiobook by Ferris Monchi. He's actually narrated several of mine. He's very good with love stories, I'll put it that way. Hallmark would love him, you know. So, but Ferris Monchi, he narrated the audiobook for Night Elvis Kissed James Dean. The next one we've got, they crawl and wait. Midnight on 6th Street. That's a very different one. It's a very adult horror story. It is not for kids. It's about a gay vampire that's roaming the streets of Austin, Texas. And it's not for kids. It's very provocative, I'll put it that way.
Okay.
The amazing David C. Guerrera. Remember that name. He narrated the audio book on that. He does a tremendous job as the voice and vocal of the vampire. And I told him, if you mess up the last line of this, you're going to ruin the whole book. All right. So the last line is the clincher. So that's just a giveaway. I'll put that last line. If you mess it up, you mess up the whole book. That's supposed to be funny. Okay. So.
Well, I will not ask what the last line of the book is.
It is a horror story, so be prepared. And the next one after that, you have They Crawl on Walls, which was narrated by Ferris Monchi. And it's a wonderful period piece about two young teenage boys in the 1940s in Chicago that meet under absolute poverty-stricken terms on Christmas Eve, and they forge a friendship, and it takes place all in Christmas Eve.
Wow! All right, I've got a question for you.
Yes, ma'am.
As a parent who I've been in a straight relationship, and I have children of my own. So here's a topic that keeps coming up again and again. And I really want your point of view on this, because you've written for young readers and you've written for adults, right?
Yes.
What is, gosh, how do I even get this whole question? I've got it like streaming through my head. But for especially the teen readers, our high school readers, where, you know, they're like my girlfriend, they're like yourself. They don't want to read about a boy and a girl. They want to read about something that's a little bit more true to them. They want to read about a boy and a boy and a girl and a girl. What books would be appropriate to calm down the heterosexual parents that are thinking, oh my gosh, if we have a gay reader in school, then that means it's like craziness. When we have so many readers in school, so many books, by the word reader, I mean books, in school about romance, that is appropriate and it doesn't go too far.
Age appropriate.
Right.
And I'm a sucker for rom-coms. I love rom-coms. Like I like haunted houses. I like rom-coms. That's a great question, and it's a very sensitive question to a lot of people, especially the times. My books are age appropriate. Like I said, for Dear Tom Hardy, They Crawl on Walls, The Night Elvis Kissed James Dean. I would usher that to the junior high and high school levels. It is appropriate for that. It's not too mature. They get to first base, the kissing, and that's it. So, and I'm very careful with that. It's supposed to be romantic. I do I worked very hard to create the romance between the two boys. Um, as if you really want to go to classics, what I read in junior high. Do you want me to go back and talk about that, or for
Sure.
junior? Got The Front Runner by Patricia Nell Warren, which was a huge success during the 70s, and it was about about a runner and his coach. It was groundbreaking, a milestone in gay lit. I would suggest that one.
What would be your message for the masses who are still, and I think there are so many people out there that still have that mindset that there's something wrong, that, you know, a man and a man, or a boy and a boy, and a girl and a girl, that's not natural, it's not in the Bible, it's, you know, whatever they're hanging on to, it seems like there's so much fear that, oh my gosh, if we embrace it, then 1 + 1 is going to equal 2. Then all of a sudden my son is going to be gay forever and ever and ever, just because I embrace something different.
Well, that's a great question. First off, you're not going to change it. You're not going to change them. It's just like if you're so cemented in your religious beliefs, you're not going to change that. You choose to follow a religion that discriminates against people and their doctrine, you're not going to change that, which is called cult. We know that, and religion pretty much is cult anyway across the board. But I could also go back to what my mother used to say, because she was a music and art teacher and professor, and she was a huge believer that, and I know a lot of people aren't going to like this, but the parents need to let the teachers teach the way they need. Untie their hands and let them teach. And that's why we were in the school district we were at the time. The parents had a say-so, but the district also had specific criteria of what we were going to learn. End of story. If you didn't like it, move out of the district. You know, but I'm grateful because we read the classics, we learned the basics, and then some. She was very keen on saying, if we let every parent have their way, you're going to filter everything out. For some reason or other, they're going to be offended, or I don't want Bobby to learn about the Jewish religion. I don't want Sarah to learn whatever, and it just breaks down. You keep breaking it down, and what are they going to learn? Mm-hmm. And it makes more sense today than it was when my mom first went off about it. went off about it. I hope that makes sense.
It does make sense. It's, you know, I think a lot of people, and like Ken had mentioned, he said, well, it is in the Bible. And, you know,
well, there's a lot in the Bible.
There's a lot of things in the Bible, and I'm not knocking it. I'm just saying that there's a lot of people that grab onto certain ideals, certain, right, you know, teachings, and they say, well, it's because of this that we're not going to allow it in our family. But that jaded point of view isn't healthy, in my opinion. It's not right. We have, so around here, and I'm sure it's nationwide, people have the Nextdoor app. And the Nextdoor app, it connects neighborhoods, right? Well, last year, I'm sorry?
I got kicked off of it.
There's a lot of people that get kicked off of it. But I was on there cruising around one night, and there was a man, and he had posted, he said, my 9-year-old son just told us that he's gay. Who wants him? Because he's not allowed to live in my house. Now, I hope DFACS was called to that house, and DFACS is Child Services here in Georgia. And of course he was blasted, you know, totally just people saying, that's not right. Where do you live? This child needs to be loved, mm-hmm, the way he truly should be loved. And this isn't love. So, you know, there again, you know, when I'm saying the Bible, it's what people want to grab onto to say, well, it's not in this entity, or it's not in that entity, so it must be feared, and it must be horrible, and it must be bad. But I kind of like where we are in the times of saying people have a right to feel comfortable in who they are, yes, as long as you're not hurting anybody.
Right.
we're not embracing what has happened for years between priests and minors. We're not embracing illegal activity.
Right.
We're embracing people being people, and that's a beautiful thing.
Plus, I think at this stage, people are fear the fact there could be gay kids. Don't say gay, that they fear it. But there are gay kids, and gay kids know what they are early, and the kid's gonna lead, the child's gonna lead the parent. The child will lead them. If they want to wear a dress or they want to wear a leather jacket, I was more into leather jackets, so there you go. But and my mother would ask, is it, how do you really feel? But it's in time. It's in time. I'll use the word again, organically, right place, right time. They're going to let you know. But as far as the naysayers and those that want to ban the books and keep them out of keep them out of whose hands? What are you doing? It's yeah.
Yeah, and at the end of the day, you really can't keep things out of kids' hands, especially not now. Can you imagine if we had Google when we were teenagers? Forget about it. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
So it's already in their hands. You
Right.
think about all these boys that wanted to take a look at the dirty magazines. Well, they knew dad kept them wherever dad kept them, and they brought them to school. How many kids do
Did it.
we know?
I did it. And a good example of this is in sixth grade. I went to the librarian at Northbrook Junior High, my school, which is a wonderful school. Okay, and this was back in the 70s, late 70s, and I said I would like to know more about homosexuality because there was nothing, and the only thing I heard were the most horrible things. It was like being on Facebook at the time. And horrible things about gay people and homosexuality. I said, do you have anything I can read on? And she looked in her file cabinet and pulled out this thin manila envelope, 2 articles, news articles, and they were all about hairdressers and florists. Okay, that's it. That's all I had. I said, that's it? Nothing else. There were no books, no novels, nothing. And I thought, maybe that's what I need to do. I need to change that. That's what I thought, So that's a very good example of a kid is going to ask in their own time, but at least let them have choices if they want to go check it out,
Right. I'm very thankful for authors and creators such as yourself because we need to realize that just because this is a genre, this is a topic, and it's romantic, novel, it's a romantic situation. It's not scary. It's the exact same as a boy and girl relationship that's in so many other books, that just because it's that particular topic doesn't mean that we're introducing our children to porn.
Correct. Very correct. It has nothing to do with that at all. That's your own dirty mind. I'll go that's what's up there in your own mind. And again, I think it comes from how religious you are and how in bed with your issues you are. Yes, that's all I can say about that. And plus the story I just told you of me as a kid going to my 6th grade librarian, and that's all she had on it. And it wasn't her fault.
Did you think, well, maybe I need to go find a florist and a hairdresser and say, do you have any information? Because my school librarian has nothing.
Well, the thing is, the only hairdressers I knew at the time and the florists I knew were all straight. So it's like, well, that doesn't work. That's not me either. It's like, where do I go? And of course, the only thing that was available were the most negative portrayals. And of course, when you had the gay pride parades in Houston, and Houston has an amazing gay pride festival, the religions would get together and photograph and report on the worst aspects of the festival. I mean, the most adult aspects, and then put that up on the news. And I said, no, that's a small. That's no. You're only ambushing us. I like to use that word. People love the ambushing is very trendy these days, especially on social media. People love to ambush.
It's extremely trendy and prevalent, and I think it's forgotten that you can do that with anything. You can find the worst of a motorcycle rally when
And
so many of those guys that ride Harleys are very straight laced. They're religious people. They've been married. They're for years and years and years, and there's nothing scandalous about them. But yet you're going to find some not wearing anything under the chaps girls running around, and
uh,
looking really seedy. Like you could find a little bit of anything everywhere. But let's talk about the film A Grieving Man.
I I'm suddenly thinking of Easy Rider. I went there. It's like, wow, that was sexy. Wow.
So
Mine went there. I'm sorry.
that's okay. That's all right. But I mean, it's so true. Like they can put an angle on any
Oh,
topic and it goes viral. What is it about the boob tube that we sit there looking at this glowing square and it's like gospel or something? People just eat it up.
people don't really think of the journalistic rules, which I always do in news. Is there are three sides. There's your side, my side, and the truth in the middle. Nobody's getting that these days. They all want scandal. They all want backstabbing. I think, what happened? You know,
Right. What happened to just
what?
being a wholesome, good person?
I'm sorry, I interrupted you. We're gonna say.
It's okay. It's all right. I tried to segue too fast. I put a wild image in our heads.
Good word, segue. I like that one.
A Grieving Man.
Mm-hmm.
Now, this is in pre-production. You still are to come into casting with this project. So tell me a little bit about where are you right now within this project?
Well, we are in very pre-production because we're still looking for those angels, executive producers, and producers that have those resources to bring in to the producing team, which I'm included on. I have specific talent I have in mind when I wrote the screenplay in the first place that I want to approach and see about getting a green light. I need a lot of angels. And while we're on it, the Grieving Man is about a man who is in desperation. He's just lost his wife. And he's in his late 40s to early 50s. That would be my wish list on that. And the actor that I wrote it for while I was writing is Thomas Jane. I think he's a very underrated actor. I think he's a brilliant actor. Let's face it, he has the goods and he has the aesthetics. We all know that. But this would make him work. And I love saying that. Now, of course, hopefully we'll get it done. I would love for him to say yes. Well, I'm pushing it right now. I know. but
look at his look. Wow.
Yeah. Jane, he's a man. He's a man. And that's if you've ever seen The Mist, I think it's a very underrated thriller. And the last 20 minutes of the film, Thomas Jane just pulls it in as one of the finest actors around. He did the Punisher, if I'm not mistaken. He did the Punisher. But aside from that, he's just a very trained actor, and that's what this role requires. Now, moving on from Thomas, there is a supporting role in there. I wrote for Tyler Posey in mind. That Tyler Posey from Made in Manhattan, wonderful rom-com, all the way to Teen Wolf, which is one of my favorite TV shows still. I own it. It's fun silliness, but it's a role of a dried up drug addict. And yes, there he is, Mr. Tyler. And he's an actor that I think is horribly underrated. Fantastic looks. We know the aesthetics are there, but this role would really make him work. It's heavy. You got to be well trained, and he would be paid. It's a loser that you want to feel sorry for. an addict, someone who just lost his father on the streets, being gunned down, and there's one scene, and he's going to have to deliver. So there you go.
Oh, those two, my goodness.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, great looks.
Those are who that I had planned in my head when I wrote it. So I'm pretty determined for them. Of course, they could easily say, "This is crap, Mr. Riddle. I don't even want to be associated with it." Now there's a role in there that already for Georgina Elizabeth O'Con, which Carlos represents. And I wrote it for her. She is a fabulous British black actress that rolls off the tongue. It's wonderful and so well trained. And that's another reason I hope this is greenlit to just showcase her work, their work. I'm so much for the actors on this. Let them shine.
Yes. Yes. Oh my goodness. Well, congratulations on coming this far. I'd love to have you on to the show again when you have your next book. What's coming in the future? I know you're in pre-production, so that's taking up a lot of time and a lot of headspace with A Grieving Man. But do you have another book coming? Do you have more poetry?
Yes, what I want to add for A Grieving Man, last thing on that, I was very fortunate to win quarterfinalist in the San Francisco International Screenwriting Competition with it, and a finalist at the Rhode Island International, and that's an Oscar qualifier. I did good. It's got some meat and potatoes behind it. Yeah. I'm going to write the novelettes or the novels to 2 more screenplays. In other words, screenplay to novel, What Boyfriends and Girlfriends Do, which is on my IMDb, and Meet Me at 3rd and Fairfax. They're both romantic comedies, and like I said, I'm a romantic comedy nut. Rom-coms. So I will be busy doing those 2 books. I just finished a short story that I'm going to have to edit up and also create a short short volume out of. So I'm constantly busy and constantly working. Yeah, and I want to produce those paperbacks. I like those tangible things.
Mm-hmm.
I get tired of the.
Me too. I have books all over the place, and the more authors I get to meet and to know, I think, oh my gosh, I love that. So I go on and I buy all their books. So they're constantly coming in, and I'm a paper. I like the paper. It's easier on my eyes. I don't like the backlit thing, but a lot of people do. So it's nice to see that even your projects, you can get on the Kindle, you can read online, you have audiobooks.
It's all available. And again, thank you to the Village Well bookstore in Culver City for taking a chance on me. Please go over there and check out the books. I have another brick and mortar store in Florida, St. Petersburg. It's called Tombola Books. They also sell Dear Tom Hardy, I Love You. They're taking a chance. And of all places, Florida. That's the war ground right now.
Very interesting news coming out of Florida, definitely.
Constantly.
Yeah, constantly. But
it's shocking. It's shocking.
It is. I think, eventually things are going to have to figure out how to commingle. We can't stay as polarized as we are. It's definitely seeming, in my opinion, making us weaker as a nation.
Yes.
You're always stronger together and not so far apart from each other. It just, it feels messy. It feels not right.
We're very divided right now, and we need to heal that, and it's gonna take some time to heal.
I agree.
There you go. Yeah.
I agree with you. Well, thank you so much for spending over an hour with us.
Did it. I did it.
I know. This has been delightful. It's been, I really appreciate your openness to allow me to ask some questions about, who are you and what was your childhood like? And it's an amazing time that we've had here. So anybody who's just tuning in, if you've missed it, scroll back, rewatch, or go over to Binge Networks and YouTube and Amazon Prime and watch it and share it and love it. Waide, thank you so much for your time this evening.
Thank you for having me. Love the hoops.
Thank you. I love them too. I need to wear them more often. I think I
Yes.
will just because of you. All
Okay.
right. I'll see you again soon. And please come back when you have another project to talk about or just to chit chat. I've enjoyed it.
I appreciate it. You have a wonderful day. Or
Thank
night.
you. You too.
Okay.
Oh my gosh, everybody. That was a fantastic show. I love Waide. I am going to be picking up more books, and I am so very excited to have some different reading in my repertoire of my library of books. And everybody, thank you so much for staying connected. I see all of you. Oh, that is delightful. Amazing show. Well, thank you, Ken. You are amazing as well. And as always, we are blessed. You are